Everyone thought the Bridges were Hollywood's perfect family. Lloyd starring with sons Jeff and Beau in hit after hit, 3 generations of talent sharing the screen. But there was another story, one of rivalry, resentment, and a father's impossible choice that nearly destroyed them all. Now, we're exposing what really happened on the sets of their most famous films, and the shocking confession that Lloyd took to his grave. Lloyd Bridges was born on January 15, 1913, in San Leandro, California. His parents, Harriet and Lloyd Bridges Sr., had moved there from Kansas before he was born. His father was a businessman who ran hotels and even owned a movie theater for a time. That early connection to entertainment may have influenced Lloyd, but acting wasn't always in his plans. His family moved around Northern California while he was growing up. That constant change may have helped him develop the adaptability that later defined his acting career. His father hoped he would become a lawyer, which was a respectable and stable career. But Lloyd's interests were already drifting in another direction. He graduated from Petaluma High School in 1931, and after that, he enrolled at the University of California, Los Angeles. At UCLA, he studied political science. But college has a way of introducing people to unexpected paths. For Lloyd, that path was theater. He joined campus productions, and before long, he realized acting was what he wanted to do. During one of those plays, March Hare's, he met a fellow performer named Dorothy Dean. She would later become his wife and lifelong partner. He also joined the Sigma Alpha Epsilon fraternity, which gave him a strong social network. The cultural scene at UCLA was thriving, and the excitement of performing in front of an audience made it clear that law was not his future. The stage was where he belonged. By the late 1930s, Lloyd had started acting professionally. His Broadway debut came in 1939 in a production of Othello. Performing live in front of an audience was a challenge, but it gave him valuable experience. The New York theater world was competitive, but he was determined to prove himself. Beyond Broadway, he became involved in off-Broadway productions and helped establish a theater in the Catskills. There, he acted, directed, and produced. That hands-on experience made him more than just an actor. It gave him a deeper understanding of storytelling and performance. The Great Depression had made things difficult for the entertainment industry, but it also forced artists to be creative and resourceful. Lloyd was no exception. Hollywood soon became his next challenge. He began appearing in films in the late 1930s, though his first roles were small. In 1941, he signed with Columbia Pictures as a contract player. That meant he had steady work, even if the parts were minor. One of his early roles was in Here Comes Mr. Jordan, 1941, where he played a pilot in a brief but memorable scene. Just as his film career was starting to gain momentum, World War II changed everything. In 1942, he enlisted in the U.S. Coast Guard. His time in the service took him away from Hollywood, but it gave him real-life experiences that would later shape his acting. The discipline and physical demands of military life would help him bring authenticity to the action and adventure roles he would take on later. When the war ended, he returned to Hollywood. But the industry had changed. The late 1940s and early 1950s were dominated by the Red Scare, and actors with any connection to leftist organizations were under suspicion. Lloyd had been involved with the Actors Lab, a theater group linked to progressive politics. That association put him on a blacklist for a short time. For many in Hollywood, blacklisting meant the end of their careers. But Lloyd was eventually cleared by the FBI and was able to work again. Lloyd Bridges had been acting for years, but nothing made him a star like Sea Hunt. The show hit television in 1958 and ran for 4 seasons, with 155 episodes packed with underwater adventure. It was a series unlike anything audiences had seen before. Bridges played Mike Nelson, a former Navy frogman who worked as a freelance diver. Every week, Nelson took on dangerous missions, from deep-sea rescues to sunken treasure hunts. He faced criminals, saved lives, and explored the mysteries of the ocean. At first, major networks didn't believe an underwater show would work. Filming beneath the surface seemed too complicated. They turned it down, but producer Ivan Tors refused to give up. He sold Sea Hunt directly to local TV stations instead of relying on a network. The gamble paid off. Audiences loved it, and the show became one of the biggest syndicated hits of its time. For Bridges, this role was more than just another acting job. A few years earlier, he had struggled to find work after being briefly blacklisted in Hollywood. His career had stalled, and he needed a way back. Sea Hunt gave him that chance, and he made the most of it. He wasn't a trained diver when he got the role, role, but he threw himself into learning. He took an intense crash course in scuba diving, working with experts to make sure he looked like a pro on screen. Soon, he was performing most of his own stunts, spending hours underwater, and pushing himself physically to make each episode feel real. Sea Hunt was also a family affair. Bridges' sons, Beau and Jeff, made their first television appearances on the show. They were still kids, but working alongside their father gave them a first-hand look at the industry. It wasn't just about acting, it was about spending time together and learning from someone who had already been through the highs and lows of Hollywood. Filming Sea Hunt came with its challenges. Bridges had to be in top shape to handle the demands of underwater stunts. He wasn't just swimming, he was diving deep, navigating underwater caves, and wrestling with staged sea creatures. The hours were long, and the conditions could be tough, but by the time the series ended, he had become an expert in the water. Lloyd Bridges had a career unlike any other. He moved from serious dramas to action-packed thrillers, and then became a surprise comedy star. One of his earliest standout roles was in High Noon, 1952, a classic Western starring Gary Cooper. The entire film unfolds in real time, following a lawman as he prepares for a deadly showdown. Bridges played Harvey Pell, a deputy who turns his back on his boss at the worst possible moment. The role was originally offered to Lee Van Cleef, but producers felt his sharp features made him look too much like a villain. That decision gave Bridges the opportunity to play a character caught between ambition and fear. His performance added tension to the story, making the betrayal even more powerful. The film had its own struggles behind the scenes. Gary Cooper was dealing with serious health problems, including a bleeding ulcer, but he still did his own stunts. High Noon also carried a political message. It was seen as a response to the Red Scare and the McCarthy-era blacklisting of Hollywood artists. The impact was undeniable. The film was later added to the National Film Registry, and its theme song, "Do Not Forsake Me, Oh My Darling," became a huge hit. Years later, Bridges made an unexpected career move with Airplane, 1980. Up to that point, he had been known for serious roles, but this film changed everything. He played Steve McCroskey, a stressed-out air traffic controller who keeps trying to quit his vices at the worst possible times. "Looks like I picked the wrong week to quit smoking," he says. Then it's drinking, then amphetamines, then sniffing glue. His completely serious delivery made the ridiculous lines even funnier. Airplane was a spoof of disaster movies, especially 0 Hour, 1957. It was filled with fast-paced jokes and absurd humor. The film's budget was only $3.5 million, but it became a massive hit, earning over $130 million worldwide. It also changed how audiences saw Bridges. After years of playing tough guys, he had proven he could do comedy just as well. The success of Airplane led to even more comedic roles. That shift continued with Hot Shot, 1991, and its sequel, Hot Shot Part 2, 1993. These films parodied action movies, especially Top Gun and Rambo. Bridges played Admiral Thomas Tug Benson, a completely incompetent leader with a long list of ridiculous injuries. Every scene revealed a new body part he had supposedly replaced. Originally, the role was meant for George C. Scott, but he turned it down. That worked in Bridges' favor. His over-the-top performance became one of the funniest parts of the series. Bridges also had the rare chance to work alongside his sons, Jeff and Beau, in several projects. One of the most memorable was Tucker, The Man and His Dream, 1988, a film about an inventor trying to revolutionize the car industry. Jeff played the lead role, while Lloyd portrayed a senator determined to shut him down. A few years later, they reunited for Blown Away, 1994, a thriller about a bomb expert being hunted by a former IRA bomber. Bridges played a retired cop who helps his son's character. The film wasn't a huge hit, but it showed the two of them working together in a more serious setting. His work with family didn't stop there. He also made regular appearances on Hearts of the West, a comedy western starring his son, Beau. The show followed a city family trying to run a Nevada dude ranch. It only lasted one season, but it was another example of how the Bridges family stuck together, both on and off screen. Lloyd Bridges and Dorothy Dean were married in 1938. Their love lasted for 60 years until Lloyd's passing in 1998. Dorothy was more than his wife. She was his partner in every sense. She supported his career while raising their family. She was also an actress, appearing in films and TV shows, including Sea Hunt, the series that made Lloyd famous. Their marriage was built on trust and loyalty. They renewed their vows photos on their 50th anniversary, a moment that showed how deep their commitment truly was. Their home was filled with creativity. They hosted salon nights, inviting friends from the entertainment world for music, storytelling, and performances. These gatherings were not just fun. They were a way for their children to experience art and expression firsthand. Beau and Jeff Bridges grew up surrounded by actors, writers, and musicians. It shaped the way they saw the world. Lloyd never pressured his children to follow in his footsteps. Beau, born in 1941, loved basketball and played for UCLA under the legendary coach John Wooden. He later realized acting was where he belonged. Jeff, born in 1949, had a passion for music but found his true calling in film. Their sister, Cindy, tried acting as well but chose a different path. The family also experienced tragedy. In 1948, their youngest child, Garrett, passed away at just 6 weeks old. Through it all, Lloyd taught his children the values that mattered: hard work, kindness, respect for every person on a film set, no matter their job. He never saw himself as a Hollywood star. He treated everyone the same. That lesson stayed with his children for life. Even with fame, Beau and Jeff remained humble. Lloyd's sense of discipline came from his time in the U.S. Coast Guard during World War II. He never forgot the lessons he learned there. Even after the war, he continued to support the Coast Guard and was later honored for his dedication. But his commitment to service didn't stop there. He and Dorothy believed in giving back. Their home was a place where people from all backgrounds were welcome. Their children grew up with that same belief. Lloyd Bridges was more than just an actor. He was a Hollywood legend whose career lasted over 60 years. When he passed away on March 10, 1998, at the age of 85, it felt like a great chapter in film history had come to an end. He was one of the last remaining stars from the golden age of Hollywood. His death was met with heartfelt tributes from actors, directors, and fans who had been inspired by his work. Bridges had been dealing with heart problems since 1992, but that never stopped him from doing what he loved. He kept acting well into his 80s, taking on roles that showed his incredible range. His final film, Mafia, was released after his passing and dedicated to his memory. It was a comedy, which felt like the perfect farewell for a man who had mastered humor in movies like Airplane and Hot Shots. Even as his health declined, he never lost his passion for storytelling. At his funeral, family, friends, and some of Hollywood's biggest names gathered to say goodbye. His sons, Beau and Jeff Bridges, stood together, sharing memories of their father. They spoke about his wisdom, his kindness, and the lessons he had passed down. Even today, his work is remembered, honored, and referenced in pop culture. In 1994, he was given a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, placed at 7065 Hollywood Boulevard. That star is still there, marking his place in entertainment history. In 1998, an episode of Seinfeld titled The Burning carried a dedication to his memory. Fans of the show would remember him as Izzy Mandelbaum, the hilariously over-the-top elderly fitness fanatic who first appeared in The English Patient and returned later in The Blood. His character was all about proving he was still in peak condition, constantly challenging Jerry to ridiculous feats of strength while repeating his catchphrase, "It's go time." His passing was a loss, but the tribute ensured his connection to the show lived on. That same year, Bridges' final film, Jane Austen's Mafia, was released, a spoof comedy that played with the conventions of classic mob movies. The film also honored him with a dedication, marking the end of a career that had seen him take on everything from serious dramatic roles to outlandish comedies. More than a decade later, in 2011, Bridges was recognized for something beyond Hollywood. He was posthumously awarded the Lone Sailor Award, a prestigious honor given to former members of the Coast Guard who went on to build distinguished careers. This recognition wasn't just for him. His sons, Jeff and Beau, both successful actors in their own right, received the same award that year. His legacy lives on through his family. Both of his sons followed in his footsteps, building careers of their own. Beau and Jeff Bridges have always spoken about the impact their father had on their lives. He wasn't just a movie star to them. He was a mentor, a role model, and a man who taught them the meaning of dedication and respect. Beau Bridges didn't just stumble into acting. It was in his blood. Born on December 9, 1941 in Los Angeles, California, he grew up watching his father, Lloyd Bridges, make a name for himself in Hollywood. His mother, Dorothy Bridges, was an actress too, so Beau was surrounded by the business from the start. He wasn't just watching from the sidelines, though. At 6 years old, he made his film debut in No Minor Vices, 1948, followed by The Red Pony, 1949. His father took him to sets, giving him a front-row seat to how movies were made. One of his earliest memories was watching his dad film a fight scene with Gary Cooper in High Noon, 1952. Those experiences weren't just fun, they were an education. As Beau got older, his interests expanded. He played basketball in high school and even earned a scholarship to UCLA. But acting never left his mind. While studying, he started landing roles in television shows like The Fugitive and The Loner. His father's guidance helped, but Beau was carving his own path. By the time he transitioned from child roles to more serious parts, he had already spent years learning the craft. He wasn't just another actor with a famous last name. He was proving he had talent of his own. One of the biggest moments in his career came in 1989 when he starred alongside his younger brother, Jeff Bridges, in The Fabulous Baker Boys. The film followed two musician brothers struggling to keep their act alive. Michelle Pfeiffer played the singer who shook things up. The chemistry between Beau and Jeff was undeniable, but getting cast wasn't a sure thing. Director Steve Kloves was hesitant at first, worried it might seem like a gimmick. It was Jeff who convinced him. He showed the studio an old Polaroid of the two performing street theater as kids. That authenticity sealed the deal. When The Fabulous Baker Boys was released, critics and audiences loved it. The film holds a 97% approval rating on Rotten Tomatoes, with praise for its performances and storytelling. Beau played Frank Baker, the responsible older brother, while Jeff played the more reckless Jack. Their dynamic felt real because it was. They weren't just acting, they were tapping into years of being brothers in real life. The success of the film proved Beau's ability to take on complex, character-driven roles, and it became one of the defining performances of his career. Beau's success wasn't limited to film. His television career was just as impressive. He appeared in countless shows, earning a reputation as a versatile and reliable actor. One of his most memorable roles was Carl Hickey in My Name is Earl, where he played the father of the main character. His performance earned him a Primetime Emmy Award. In The Closer, he played Detective George Andrews, bringing depth and experience to the role. Whether it was drama or comedy, he had a way of making his characters feel real, even as he took on new projects. Beau never strayed far from the family legacy. His father had been a Hollywood icon, and Beau carried that torch proudly. He won 3 Emmy Awards and 2 Golden Globes, solidifying his place as one of the great. In recognition of his contributions to film and television, he earned a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. But beyond the awards, his legacy lived on in his family. His son, Ezekiel Bridges, followed in his footsteps, appearing in films and continuing the family tradition. Jeff Bridges was born into Hollywood royalty on December 4, 1949. His father, Lloyd Bridges, was a well-known actor, and his mother, Dorothy, was also in the entertainment industry. Growing up in a household filled with creativity, Jeff was exposed to acting from an early age. His father's career gave him an up-close look at the industry, and it wasn't long before Jeff was stepping onto sets himself. One of his earliest roles was on Sea Hunt, a television series that starred his father and older brother, Beau. These early experiences gave Jeff more than just acting credit. They taught him the fundamentals of performance and storytelling, while also showing him the challenges of being an actor. His family played a key role in shaping his love for the craft. While Lloyd was often busy with work, Beau became a mentor and role model. Their bond helped Jeff navigate the unpredictable nature of Hollywood. By the time he finished high school in 1967, he already had years of industry experience, but acting wasn't his only passion. For a time, he considered stepping away from the family business to explore other interests. However, the pull of acting was too strong to ignore. In 1971, Jeff's career took a major leap forward when he landed a role in The Last Picture Show, a coming-of-age drama directed by Peter Bogdanovich, playing Dwayne Jackson, a high school football player facing the uncertainty of adulthood. Jeff delivered a performance that earned him an Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actor. It was a breakthrough moment, proving that he was more than just the son of a famous actor. Over the next few years, he continued to build his reputation with standout performances in Fat City, 1972, and The Last American Hero, 1973. Then came Thunderbolt and Lightfoot, 1974, a film that cemented his place in Hollywood. Starring alongside Clint Eastwood, Jeff played a charismatic young car thief, and his performance earned him another Oscar nomination. The film was a hit, and audiences took notice of his natural charm and effortless talent. environment. Jeff's ability to adapt to different roles became his trademark. He didn't want to be typecast, something he had learned from watching his father's career. Lloyd Bridges became famous for Sea Hunt, but that success also made it harder for him to break into other roles. Jeff took that lesson to heart, choosing parts that allowed him to explore different genres, from The Adventure of King Kong, 1976, to the romantic mystery Somebody Killed Her Husband, 1978. He was constantly pushing himself as an actor. While he had already built an impressive career, it was his role in Crazy Heart, 2009, that finally earned him an Academy Award. Playing Bad Blake, a washed-up country singer struggling with alcoholism, Jeff delivered a raw and deeply moving performance. The film was initially meant to be a small-budget release, but his portrayal made it an instant hit. He even learned to play the guitar and sing for the role, adding another layer of authenticity to his performance. Winning the Oscar for Best Actor was a career-defining moment, but it didn't change his approach to acting. He remained committed to playing unique and challenging characters, whether in True Grit, 2010, Hell or High Water, 2016, or Bad Times at the El Royale, 2018. Outside of acting, Jeff found stability in his personal life, something rare in Hollywood. He met Susan Geston while filming Rancho Deluxe in 1975, and they married 2 years later. Their relationship has been a constant source of support, and together they raised 3 daughters, Isabel, Jessica, and Haley. Unlike many actors who struggle to balance family and career, Jeff made it a priority. He has often spoken about the importance of his family, crediting them with keeping him grounded through the ups and downs of Hollywood. His daughters have each pursued their own paths, with Isabel becoming an author, Jessica a musician, and Haley an interior designer. Jeff even collaborated with Isabel on a children's book called Daddy-Daughter Day. His bond with his daughters became even stronger after he was diagnosed with lymphoma in 2020. Battling cancer gave him a new appreciation for life, and after successful treatment, he returned to acting with a renewed perspective. Jeff's career has lasted for more than 5 decades because he never allowed himself to be boxed into one type of role. He took on projects that challenged him, avoided the trap of being typecast, and always remained open to new opportunities. Whether playing the laid-back dude in The Big Lebowski, or a hardened lawman in Hell or High Water, he has proven time and time again that he is one of Hollywood's most versatile actors. His father's advice to embrace variety shaped his career, and in doing so, he created a legacy that continues to inspire generations of actors.